Hi, everybody. It's good to see you. Hey, today's class is going to make your life easier. It's going to make homeschooling better. It's going to make your transcript awesome. And I'm really looking forward to talking with you today. Thank you for joining me. If you could just chime in on chat and tell me your name, where you're from, and what do your children do for fun? Okay. I will go first. I actually have two nerds in my family. It's true. It's okay that I say that. I have permission from them to call them nerds. And one of them loved chess, and the other one loved economics. So I would love to know what your children do for fun. And let me ask you, what if that fun stuff would go on your transcript? What? And what if that would make your life easier? What? That'd be great. Michelle is from Pennsylvania and she just said her children dance. That's fantastic. And Stacy is my assistant from no, from Georgia, and her son loves to play the bass guitar. And Nicole, her child is into music and theater, and she's in Florida. So I see I'm surrounded by fine arts people. I personally was super intimidated by fine arts. Iowa, he loves to work on cars. That's cool. I can dig that. So my name's Lee Binns. We're going to get started in 2 minutes according to my clock. But I always think it's more fun when we kind of get to know each other first. So as you're joining me, just, chime in and say what your kids do for fun. Do make sure that you have downloaded your workbook. The workbook looks like, there you go, looks like this. And we're going to be filling that out. Hot tip for those of you who have come early, every word on the screen that is underlined is an answer in the workbook. It's like an open book test, really. I should tell you one other thing, too. If you really love this topic, I have a book on Amazon called Delight Directed Learning. And you can find that on Amazon if you wanted to read more about it. And Jennifer is joining us from Indiana. Her kids love music and art and building in Minecraft. Very cool. Let me ask you one other question as we're getting ready to start. When do you start school? I was so surprised. I was talking with my staff, and it's funny because I never started school before Labor Day, ever. And they were all saying, oh, they start in August. And I was so surprised. So I wanted to know when you were going to start school. I think it's because in Seattle area, we have one nice month, and that is August. And so no schools around here start before August or in August. Okay. Well, looks like we're timed to get started. So I wanted to give you your free gift before we get started. In your workbook, again, the workbook looks like this. You just type in tinyurl.com/fabulousfun. And then after class, you'll be able to download that free book on fabulous fun. Okay. And it helps you convert natural learning into high school credits. All right. All right, so I hope you have your workbook ready. Nicole, she said she started civics about 20 days ago. Yeah, good start. And Michelle starts in August, and Nicole starts in August. Blowing my mind, people. All right, so welcome to my class on Delight Directed Learning. I'm going to help you today to have a more relaxing, successful school with more compliant children. And so my goal is to make your life easier today, all while increasing the effectiveness of your homeschool. My name is Lee Binns, if you haven't met me before. Let me just introduce myself briefly. I'm the home scholar. I homeschooled my children through high school. They both earned full tuition scholarships to their first choice university. It's true, they're a little nerdy. The things that they loved to do was playing chess, playing the piano, economics, history. They both love history. So they're kind of nerdy kids, and but they did get the full tuition scholarship, and I know how to translate delight directed learning into fantastic outcomes for children. So I am going to be having a special offer for the high school solution. So I hope that you will stay for that. I'll give you about 50 minutes of content. That brief special offer for the high school solution is going to be, maybe 5 or 10 minutes. And then I'm going to stay to answer your questions. So if you have more questions about bass guitar or dance, then we can talk about that at the very end. But the workshop savings are fantastic. We do have some bonuses that are going to be thrown in and a huge coupon code. So you're really going to like it. Good morning, Laura. Good to see you. Um, all right. I wonder if I'll see Laura have a quote here because I remember Laura one time gave me a quote. That'd be fun to see your name on a screen, wouldn't it? So let's think about, what does delight directed learning look like? This is what Margaret wrote, and she was saying how the very idea of including delight directed learning in her homeschool was a real aha moment for her. And then it seemed so obvious, right? So of course you're going to do that. And I'm hoping that you're going to turn that corner too, that you're going to be like, that's it. That's the key that I've been looking for. So here's what you're going to learn today. You're going to learn what delight directed learning is, how it makes homeschooling better. How do you identify it? How do you encourage it? How do you document it when it's outside the box and maybe there's no tests? And then how do you balance delight directed learning with all of the other schoolwork? And again, we're going to have plenty of time for questions at the end. So let's start working in our workbook and think about, what is delight directed learning anyway? People talk about it a lot, but we need to figure out what it is. Okay. Delight directed learning is what happens when a person, hopefully your child, is pursuing learning about a topic just for fun, just because they take delight in it, not because it's required, but because they find it interesting. Now, I know homeschoolers who have loved a wide variety of things. Some love math. Can you believe that? They'll learn math like for fun. Some love being physically active, others love music. I've known kids that have specialized in mushrooms and birds and chess and economics and ballet and piano. And it's not required, it's just fun for them. Now, homeschoolers will call it many things. It has many names. Sometimes it will be called specialization or passion or self study. But for kids, they think of it as fun. Okay, so it doesn't feel like school to them, which is why including that delight directed learning in school, it improves their compliance and they feel like they love what they're doing, don't realize that at school. So you find out that they love school, right? So often the process sort of looks like self directed, eclectic unit studies, right? It's always self directed and doesn't require tests. So delight directed learning will achieve your goals. It will achieve those self directed courses with self motivated learners. The interests that they have initially will grow and build. Some will drop off. Others will become a passion that will last for years or until adulthood or through adulthood. Sometimes those passions can guide their career choices. And so the solution is allowing it to happen. But allowing delight directed learning to happen is harder than you think, um, because delight directed learning can feel to parents frustrating, boring, annoying to parents. I remember when Kevin would play chess, the sound of a triple weighted chess piece on a wooden board drove me insane crazy. And he was always playing chess when he was supposed to be doing something else. And Alex was always playing the piano when he was supposed to be doing something else, you know. I have PTSD about that sound. It's really true. So when I say it can be frustrating, boring, or annoying, I want you to picture in your mind a 3-year-old cracking eggs as they're learning to bake. That's what the life directed learning feels like. And truth be told, I'm a pretty tidy person and I like things a little sewn up. And so my staff will say, oh, yeah. And so it was a little harder for me, I think, because I do have such a regimented, logical mind. It was a bigger hurdle and leap for me to make. But there's huge benefits to what we're doing. Why would you want to be annoyed if it wasn't going to help you, right? So let's count the different ways that delight directed learning will make your homeschool better. Okay. Now I want you to chime in if any of these have happened to you. Number one, learning is more relevant, meaningful, or fun. Okay, so think about what you told me your child likes to do for fun. Did they find that relevant, meaningful, or fun when they were learning, say, piano or bass guitar? You just answer yes if that's true for you. Okay. Um, Next is the parent benefits. Woohoo! That's us. Okay. School is less work because you don't have to give tests or grade it or correct papers. And the student is more motivated. And when the student is more motivated, we also benefit because they are self directed. We don't have to teach things. And so when you put those together, what that means is we have less frustration. We're dealing with fewer attitude problems, and that's what makes life better, calmer. I will say it's not necessarily a breeze, you know, homeschooling is always challenging. It's just more satisfying because the student is more cooperative and motivated. The third benefit is that these activities will often last for years and can shape and mold the decisions that your child will make. Maybe they'll be thinking things like, oh, I can't wait to do this when I'm an adult. I can't wait until I get paid for this. Wouldn't it be fun to do this full time, 8 hours a day? Or the negative would also be true. They could say, "Oh, my delight directed learning is being outside," and then they spend an entire year doing, I don't know, yard maintenance or something, and then they realize, "No, I don't like standing in the rain every single day of the whole year." So, I mean, it can guide their decisions either way. Number 4 is the transcript benefits. If those of you who know me, I am big into record keeping. I love helping parents make their transcripts and course descriptions. And this is a really important benefit because delight directed learning is what the source for electives. So it fills the transcript with a bunch of electives. It also improves the GPA because they get an A in all of their delight directed learning elective classes. So the student is going to get a solid grade, but school seems easier to them, and they're also more likely to get good grades in their other subjects because they don't feel like they're overworked because they're doing some subjects just for fun. But of course, to get the credits on your transcripts and electives, you have to actually learn how to make a transcript. Otherwise, who will know that it happened, right? So, how would you reap the reward? Let me give you some clear direction. I want to make sure that you've downloaded your free book, How to Put Fabulous Fun on Your Homeschool Transcript. All you need to do is on your workbook, write down the tiny URL on your screen, tinyurl.com/fabulous fun. See, it's right there. And write that down. And then after class, you can download the book. It is titled How to Put Fabulous Fun on Your Homeschool Transcript and Convert Natural Learning into High School Credit. Because I'm all about making sure that you get the credit where credit is due. Okay. We are getting tons people joining us now. So we're just listing off the different ways. In fact, I should probably go back to that book. For those of you who are joining us, I do have a free gift. You're welcome, Rachel. She said that's awesome. And so if you want to just write down tinyurl.com/fabulous fun, you can download that book after class. And what we're doing right now, ladies and gentlemen, is we're counting down the ways that delight directed learning will improve your homeschool. And then we're going to be moving on to other topics about delight directed learning. But because we mentioned putting it on the transcript, I wanted everybody to have the link to the free book today. Okay, so moving on. Number 5, why do you want to include delight directed learning? It's because your college application will benefit. These activities, this specialization, these are fantastic application essay topics. Application essays are used for most colleges. Having something to write about is extremely helpful. When your child actually loves the essay topic that they're writing about, they're more likely to write a good essay, and that in turn will lead to bigger scholarships. It's always easier to write about something when you enjoy it. Um, Plus, it will also benefit your child because they'll get letter of recommendation sources as they have a job outside the home, or they have a mentor in their subject area, or they've performed or done this or that. They will be mixing it up with people who are great people to have write the college application essay. Okay, so let's make sure that we do that now. All right. Also, it can help them to compensate for lower test scores. Often, the college application results are based on SAT, ACT, and GPA. But when you have fantastic application essays and you have stellar letters of recommendation, those may be used in place of test scores. So they become even more important. Number 6, there are scholarship benefits to including delight directed learning because the student is more likely to get private scholarships. There are unique scholarships that are awarded to things like chess and economics and writing and public speaking and bowling and golf and archery. So, for example, my son submitted some of his economics research and won a scholarship for that. But the student is also more likely to get merit scholarships directly from the college as well. My children were invited to a full tuition scholarship competition because of their SAT and GPA. The GPA on my homeschool transcript was a 4.0, right? That's why they were invited. But when they got to this 8-hour competition, they were asked to talk about something that they were passionate about. And so each of them spoke about things that they loved doing when they were in high school. They talked about their passions, and their passions were rewarded with huge scholarships, saving my family $184,000. Now, look at Yvonne's experience here. She shares about how encouraging her son's delight directed learning in designing cars led to him being the top candidate for a huge scholarship. This is what I'm hoping is going to happen to you because delight directed learning can lead to scholarships. Number 7. Delight directed learning provides personal development for teenagers because they learn to develop their own interests over time. Sometimes a parent will say to me, my child is not interested in anything. I've heard parents say that before. By encouraging, allowing delight directed learning, they learn to develop their own interests. So, our job then is how do you do that? You expose them to a wide variety of experiences and topics that might spur their interests. Now, this is why colleges require core classes, the 100 level classes. You have to take one English and one math and one history and one foreign language, no matter who you are, right? they do that to give kids a broad exposure to a lot of things that they might become passionate about. So, for example, I had one Gold Care member that said, all my son wants to do is watch TV and eat ice cream. This was back in the day when I actually went to people's houses and I went to her class, and lo and behold, the entire 3 hours I was there, he was watching TV and eating ice cream. And so we talked about different things that she could try, and they just tried speech and debate, and he loved it, and it changed his life, and he's an adult now doing really well. I believe he's heavily involved in political campaigns. He runs political campaigns in our state, and just doing fantastic, taking that speech and debate. I had another client that her daughter stopped piano, and oh my, Cindy was devastated. But a year later, after taking a year off from music, her daughter just picked up a guitar and taught herself to play. And soon she was leading church worship services and does that as an adult. Another client was saying, oh, all my son ever does is play guitar. But as he got older into high school, it wasn't just him playing his guitar. He was in a band and he was selling his CDs, and he created a website to sell his CDs. He was maintaining a website uh, with buying and selling involved. So it became occupational education. So all of that means personal development. Number 8, it is actually possible, especially with nerdy kids, for delight directed learning to earn college credits. Now, this doesn't mean in every subject or every child, but it is an opportunity for you to investigate whether your child might earn college credits. Now, you can get college credits from AP tests or CLEP exams, DSST tests, or dual enrollment. Now, dual enrollment, I want you to be careful about. I know it's super popular, at least it is in my area, Washington State, but dual enrollment can be a rated R environment. And just like rated R movies are not appropriate for every 16 or 17-year-old, it is not appropriate for every homeschooler as well. But you can actually learn subjects at a very advanced level just by taking YouTubes or Coursera classes or online free online classes through like MIT or colleges, for example. When they're doing a lot of study, you can give them a sample of these tests at home just for fun, just to see if they would pass it. And then if they do pass it, then you can have the opportunity to take the test for real. Okay. So you can make sure that they are successful. And again, those college credits can be earned through AP or CLEP or DSST or dual enrollment. So listen, people are saying that I'm kind of getting a little bit choppy. I know the internet is a little sketch nationwide right now. I've been having a lot of problems with my hearing about people saying the internet is bad and waiting for it to get connected. So if you have a good connection, can you just tell me that my connection is fine, please? All right, so the sample tests are what I recommend that you do at home. Just to see, people are saying it's fine. I feel like our internet is good. We have business internet here, so it should be okay. Thank you, guys. I owe you. Okay. So let me give you a couple of examples of delight directed learning. No judgment here, okay? I don't want anybody to say, oh, that Lee Benz, she raised nerds. I did not raise nerds. They were born that way, okay? This is my son, Alex, and what happened to him was he started reading literature-based history with Sunlight. I believe it was Carry On, Mr. Bowditch that changed his ever-loving mind, and he started to love social studies. That started to get more narrow as he got older. He started to love economics. This is a picture of him at age 15 when he was presenting his economics research at a international economics organization. He was 15 years old. This did not happen overnight, but he took that thing he was passionate about, started to attend lectures just for fun. He ended up being offered a job at a lecture. I remember my husband said, I told him he was 14 and they said they didn't discriminate based on age. And then it was through his research at this think tank as a college intern at a think tank at age 14 that he started doing his own economics research. And that's when he presented that at the Western Economics Association International Conference. He did it a few years in a row. One time he took him to um, San Diego, and then the other conference was at Hawaii. And it was funny because after that, we started getting mail at our house that was addressed to Professor Alex Binns. And, they did not know he was 15 at the time. Anyway, he also earned delight directed learning credits on his transcript, and he entered the university with 2 years of college credits under his belt through CLEP and dual enrollment. This is my other son, Kevin, doing what he loves best. He studied chess all day, every day. Drove me crazy, as I have already confessed. His love of chess led him to become a teacher of chess. And then he became hired by a major chess organization in our area. And we were glad to see him working, but we were also shocked at how much a chess teacher could make at the age of 16. Ultimately, his love of chess helped him to realize that what he liked about it was solving complicated multi-step problems, right? And so that's why he ultimately chose his degree in electrical engineering and computer science all at the same time, because he wanted to do something hard, and that does sound hard. And he also earned 1 year of college credit through CLEP and dual enrollment, and that allowed him the time to graduate college having multiple degrees, not just one degree. Anyway, so it's not just my family. I'm just giving you my examples because I have 2 kids and here's my 2 examples, but it's other people as well. This is what Pebble was saying. Her child is still younger and she was noticing this progression, right? Surfing led to lifeguarding, canoeing led to being a camp counselor. You see how it grows one on another. The other thing I love is that she said it drove her crazy. I think that's pretty common. So when I'm consulting with my Gold Care members, I will often say, what does your child do for fun? And if mom says, oh, I don't know, I'll say, well, what does your child do that drives you crazy? And that usually gives me the answer that I'm looking for. All right, so we've talked about what delight directed learning is. We've talked about why it's helpful. So let's spend a few moments talking about how do you identify it, okay? Well, in order to identify it, you have to be students of your student and you have to watch what they do for fun. And so it starts by observing, okay? What does your teen spend their time on? What would they rather be doing instead of this school subject that they hate? Now, this is hard for us to observe because as a parent in the real world, what you need to understand is that your passion, the thing you love doing, is often 180 degrees from what your child loves doing, which is one of the reasons why it, generally speaking, drives my mom nuts, right? And so we get confused thinking about, well, this is my passion. I want my child to do this. I want my child to play piano at church, but they want to play guitar at church or whatever. And so you need to be observing, not with flattery, not with wishful thinking, but actually looking at your teenager and deciding how do they like to spend their time. The next thing you do is that you identify it by annoyance. I think again about how many, many times moms have said, this drives me nuts. I actually did a YouTube showing what it's like when it drives me nuts. Specialization is hard to see in a family. And so you have to ask yourself, well, what would they rather be doing? So what do you need to do then if you're going to identify by annoyance? You have to use your annoyometer skillfully. You know, when it goes off, ding, 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 ding. I want you to think of me and think, okay, my child is probably doing something that they love that I don't necessarily value because their love language is different than mine. So when you start, dare I say, screaming and saying, will you put that down? You know, oh, for the love of all that's holy, will you please? Okay. When that moment happens, you need to be asking yourself, what are they doing right now? Because Lee would say that was delight directed learning. Um, I'll tell you one true story is that delight directed learning is like the grass is greener on the other side. It always looks better when it's somebody else's child's delight directed learning. It always looks worse when it's our child's delight directed learning. I read an article about a local golfer, and he hit it big. And this homeschool dad was talking about his child's love of golf and how he was becoming this famous golfer and everything. And then the dad said, you know, what's sad though is that I personally am so bad at golf, and this whole thing is so frustrating to me. So, like, yeah, here's this dad whose son is doing golf like my son did graduate level economics, and it still drove the dad insane, you know? So, if you're annoyed, um, welcome to the club, right? This is where the cool kids hang out. So let me explain, what do you do about it? Okay, you're thinking, okay, I'm annoyed, right? What do we do? How do you encourage delight directed learning? You ready to talk about that? Oh, I better figure out where we are in the workbook. How to encourage, top of page 4. That's where we are in the workbook. Right. First, you have to provide opportunity. And that means you have to find more time in your day. And that means you need to have margin in your day. In order to discover their passion and interest, children need the opportunity to be delighted in something, have time to pursue something. They need to have that unstructured free time. I can tell you, in my family, we homeschooled 4 days a week, and that even through high school. And that allowed them that fifth day to do what they wanted to do for fun. Now, at first, that was, you know, going to the park, homeschool skating, homeschool swimming, homeschool bowling, group gatherings, book report lunches, play dates with friends. But when they got older and were teenagers, that was the day of the week that they would go to their job. Alex went to the think tank for 8 hours I think it was Wednesday. Kevin would teach his chess classes one day and drive all over Tarnation, all over Seattle, going to different schools and teaching that way. Now, delight directed learning requires time, which we have just proven. Time requires margin, which we've just talked about. What is margin? Okay. Margin is the white space around a book. This is my book, Delight Directed Learning, available on Amazon. It's got nice big margins because parents freak out and they need an easy book to read. Okay. So having a big margin in a book makes a book easier to read. Okay. Having more white space in your life makes a life easier to live. Okay. So margin means you have enough unplanned white space to absorb whatever is happening. So, what is the biggest impediment to free time? This next part's really important. The biggest impediment to free time is actually technology. So, the next thing you have to do is to limit technology. Some smart kids are going to try to tell you, but no, really, this is the thing that I'm passionate about. um, which is the difference is sort of like I can't even think of a wholesome experience. So a bartender versus an alcoholic, right? An alcoholic may say, well, I really am passionate about alcohol, but it's not like he's a bartender mixing drinks, okay? And technology is like that too. They may say that they're passionate about technology, but maybe it's just flat out addictive, right? The overuse of technology is by far the biggest impediment to motivation, to delight directed learning, because they get so stuck in technology, they can't even see what's around them. They can't develop anything to be passionate about because they're playing this one game that doesn't stretch their mind. Okay. Now, technology can also be a big impediment to moms as well. If we are on our phone doing all sorts of research about how do I, find this one thing that my child needs for school, then we're not actually doing school. And so you have to find this balance, right? I love what Rachel just said. My teen loves gaming. So this year he built a gaming computer. That's a good example of delight directed learning because he was passionate about gaming, but he translated that into something he was actually learning, which is building a computer, whether that's from scratch or coding. Anyway, technology is important to limit because without being bored, they won't develop imaginative play. It's like when children are little babies, toddlers, they have to experience boredom so that they can start to develop their imagination. It's critical for young children, and it's also critical for teenagers. Without being bored, if they're always filling this need to do something with their phone, they won't get to the place of boredom, and then they won't think of something that is more fun to do. Okay. They might just be filling it with their technology. All right. Number three. The third thing you can do to encourage it is to supplement school with their area of interest. That will add relevance to the things that they're learning, make it more interesting whenever possible. So sometimes you can exchange an entire class with delight directed learning. So, for example, you don't have to arrange for a PE class if your child is doing dance. Dance is PE, they're physically active. Other times you use it as a supplement. When my children were younger and they loved baseball, I got the book Baseball Math so that they could do math with baseball, and they thought that was really fun. So another example is they might love history, and so you could use that entirely as your social studies program, or you could supplement other classes. And when they study art, you could study the history of art or the history of science. You see how that works? So doing this again, it adds the depth of academic subjects, and you just put all those details into your course descriptions. So let me give you another example. This is an example from Betty. And she said she was able to design her homeschool around that passion, teaching in a way that was most enjoyable for her child. So chime in on chat and let me know, what does your teenager do that might be delight directed learning? So Marissa was just sharing, well, what about novels? My daughter would love to read day and night. Would novels be a problem with technology? Usually not. A technology problem is more of the flashing screens, and reading novels is usually not a problem. But you can parlay that into delight directed learning and have them write a novel for fun. Sarah was just sharing that her child really loves reading as well. So for your English credit, you could write a novel. Angela was saying her son likes reading about history. Becca, reading, writing, teaching, crafting. Good. Crafts are a big one too. Yeah, so all of those things can be really helpful. Number 4, you can find a mentor as one way to encourage delight directed learning. If your child is loves science, you find a friend who works in an industry or loves science, something where it could be a one-time visit or a weekly volunteer work they do or a paying job, somewhere where your child can interact with other people who love the same thing. um, it may not be the first mentor that you find that is the long term help. It could be the second or third mentor that you stumble into. This was actually how we got our son was so passionate about economics. We took him to one of our mentors said, well, why don't you take him to this presentation? And it was at that presentation he asked a question and they offered him a job on the spot. Number 5, you can follow behind. That's a really important tip because if you take their delight directed learning thing, reading, writing, crafting, and you say, aha, I can use that for school, and then you make it into something schoolish, right? You develop learning outcomes and a grading rubric, and you have tests, and you put A's on things or B's on things. That kind of ruins it. So instead, you want to follow behind and scoop up the things that they do, like you're shoveling it into a bucket. Okay. Follow behind because the true progress of delight directed learning is not a straight up thing. Instead, it is a bump and start sort of thing. And remember that all feedback is good feedback. Even if they decide ultimately they don't love that, that's still helping them to shape and mold their interests, their character, the decisions they're going to make about college or career or jobs or whatever. Kathy says, my son analyzes everything, drives me nuts. My son does that to this day. He's 34 years old, analyzes everything. He is the biggest nerd you will ever see on social media. I kid you not. Okay, number 6, avoid making it school. Delight directed learning should feel like freedom. To the child, it should feel like I'm playing, I'm goofing around, I'm not doing school at all. You don't need tests or quizzes. You don't need literary analysis on the books that they read. Instead, you just evaluate naturally. You look at what they're doing, you look at the resources that they're using for their delight directed learning, and you write it down in your notes so that you can make course descriptions. It is possible for a homeschool mom to beat the love of learning right out of a child. Okay. And that's what you don't want to do. You do not want to beat the love of learning out of your child. You want to avoid making it school and then follow behind with your shovel, scooping up those credits. Okay. So when you think about how to encourage delight directed learning, remember that your goal is to create self directed, open ended, lifelong love of learning. You're not trying to create a school like environment where they start learning here and they end learning there and they can't learn after that. Now, Marissa's question, did you give your children an A? Yes, I did give them an A on each thing. I felt a little insecure about that because I don't know any economics. So I did not even know what to call the classes, but I found out later that I was correct to do that because he was doing graduate level research. So, like, no wonder I didn't understand it. Can I get an amen? All right, now, but that brings up a good question. I'm really glad that you asked that right now because we need to talk about how to document delight directed learning. So you have to imagine your child is doing something for fun. What comes next? You have to document that. And that is why I wanted to make sure everybody downloads that free book I'm giving you. Okay. Make sure you write it down. How to have fabulous fun on your homeschool transcript and convert natural learning to high school credits. Okay, everybody written that down? You're welcome, Marissa. You're welcome. Okay, so make sure. Oh, by the way, this is completely free. This book is no obligation, no purchase necessary. You know, your money back because I don't charge anything. All right, so let's talk about how do we convert natural learning into high school credits. Okay, has anybody ever heard of the sticky notes or the sticky notes strategy? Okay, because having your credits converted is going to require an excessive number of sticky notes. I wonder if I have sticky notes right here. Okay, so I'm going to give you a short summary of the sticky note strategy. This is explained in great detail in the book that I've given you. So I don't want you to panic if you lose your place here, but it basically boils down to sticky notes. Okay, I want you to imagine that you have your child's love is 4-H or scouting, and they get a badge or they do a 4-H project in everything that they do. Okay, you would have one sticky note for each of those projects. All right, that's why you go through excessive numbers of sticky notes. All right, so let's get started. On your sticky note, the first thing you do is you name your experience. If you were doing 4-H, it would be the 4-H project. If you were doing Boy Scouts, it would be the Boy Scout badge. For those of you who have told me anything your child loves to do for fun, you would write that down on here, whether that is reading or bass guitar or piano or dance, you would write it right on that sticky note. Okay, you have one sticky note per thing that they do. It can be simple, like loves to crochet. Okay, the next thing that you do is you put a note on the sticky note for what year did they do it. They may do it year after year, that's fine, but you want to put the year on there. So it might be Nutcracker play 2022, 2023, something like that. All right. Um, the next thing that you do is you give a grade for the experience. Now, remember, if they love the thing, they should get an A, which is a 4.0. If they don't love the thing, chances are it is not actually delight directed learning. It's something that you wish was delight directed learning. Okay. If your child has mastered the concepts, if your child has high test scores, if they meet your expectations, or if they simply love the subject, then you put it on the sticky note as an A. You start this when the child is the age of a ninth grader. Okay, the age of a ninth grader, or when they're starting ninth grade work, but it's easier when you think about the age of a ninth grader. Okay, so when we're talking about the grade, I just want you to understand this important thing. You're going to be estimating grades for natural learning without tests. And so you're going to need this formula on your screen. An A in this subject means only one of these things is true. Either the child loves it, or they have mastery, which does not mean perfection, or they meet your high expectations. You know, you expected them to say memorize their lines in the Nutcracker, or they have high test scores. So if they have, let's say you take the CAT test or the Iowa basic test and your child always gets good scores in English. If they're writing a novel, you know they get an A in novel writing because they get good test scores on their annual assessment. Okay. Remember, if they don't get an A in their delight directed learning, then ask yourself, is it delight directed learning? Am I pushing them too hard? Is this not truly their delight? Okay, now the next thing you do on your sticky note is you kind of estimate the hours or credits that they have earned. Okay, so if your child is dancing, you could say 2 hours per day. And on their piano sticky note, you might say 1 hour per day. And then on their Nutcracker sticky note, you'd say Well, it was 40 hours a week, but only for 5 weeks, right? Which, by the way, is 200 hours, right? If I did my math right, which I don't always. Anyway, so you use that information to help you calculate credit. So that requires that I give you the formula for a credit. And here that is, okay? 1 full year of a high school class means that only one of these is true. Either they have 120 to 180 hours. Oh, look, we did the whole nutcracker, right? Or they worked for 1 hour a day or more. Oh, look, piano, an hour a day. Okay. Or they worked for 5 hours or more per week. Oh, look, my child went to work and they work 8 hours 1 day a week. So you know. Or you have too many hours to count. Oh, that bass guitar is too many hours to count. I cannot cope. I can imagine drumming would be worse. Bass guitar, you can actually turn it down so it's hardly even noticeable. You can use earphones. Not true with drums. Okay. Too many hours to count means they get one whole class. Okay. Now, the next thing you do with your sticky notes, remember we're still working on sticky notes, is you consider the different subject area. So if you're looking at your dance sticky note, and you could say to yourself, well, I don't really know if that's a fine art or if I should just call it dance or if it's PE because she's moving, or maybe it's occupational education because she's teaching dance and I just don't know. Okay. That's all you need to do. Put down all of your possible subjects' experiences onto the sticky note so that you will have that idea in your head and you can use it with freedom. Okay. So you've listed the subject areas. Then the next thing you do is that you arrange them in affinity groups. Okay. So you could say, oh, this Boy Scout merit badge and this merit badge and this merit badge are all involving leadership because he got his or her Eagle Scout. Okay. And so then you might create a class called Leadership Studies. Or you collect these into affinity groups and you'd say, well, all of these merit badges have to do with art. It's photography and woodworking and that sort of thing. Okay, so you put them into affinity groups, and that's how you're going to find out that they are enough hours and enough credits in order to be one whole class. Let's say your child does a handful of plays, but they're pretty short plays, right? So it'd be like, well, this play took 60 hours, and this play took 60 hours, and this play took 60 hours. Well, when you put them into the affinity group, you have 180 hours. Okay. All right. The next thing you do is you add the credits to the transcript. Okay. Once you have enough hours for a credit, I don't want you to stress out about it anymore. Just put it on the transcript. You can guess on the class title until you get a chance to talk to me about that. Okay. The next thing I want you to do is to write course descriptions for your Delight Directed Learning. You see, each sticky note is a unit study in the class. So when you say like topics of this course include bump, 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 right? That's what that will help you with. Each of those sticky notes is a way that you grade it. I give an A for this theater production. I give an A for this theater production, and I give an A for this theater production. Each one of you is going to help to describe the rigor of the class. And I will say with course descriptions, they are neither less important nor more important than the math or science or foreign language. Just because they're delight directed learning doesn't mean they're less important. I think that course descriptions are always important. Okay, I just realized that I am talking too much. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to speed up. Nobody panic. Okay. When you're writing course descriptions, though, it can be a little bit challenging when it's a delight directed learning course, but you do have some fantastic sticky notes that you can use now for that course description. But I would consider beginning the description with the phrase, "This is a self directed course." And then you list every resource used, books they got at the library, things, YouTube channels that they subscribe to. You list every project, every task they completed according to your sticky notes. Every resource, every sticky note gets an A when they have done it, as if that sticky note was your test. Okay. Right. And then the next thing you want to do is to include the information on your activity list, because chances are when they do it for fun, it is also an activity, and you can put that on the activity list. Here's an example. Let's say your child loves martial arts. On the class, it might say PE, martial arts. On the activity list, it might say Highline Taekwondo, grades 9, 10, 11, 12, earned a black belt in number 12. Okay. Maybe your child even went on to love it so much that they taught it. And then they would have an additional entry talking about how they were the assistant teacher. Okay. All right, now delight directed learning is important for everybody. And Lisa was sharing how she wanted to make sure we all made time to encourage the delight directed learning and then follow behind and scoop up those experiences and document them on the transcript. Um, so there is one more thing we simply have to do to be successful, and that is to make sure that you have the requirements of record keeping when you're documenting things. Your high school transcript is absolutely essential. Okay. They will be used in the future if your child wants to ever take a community college class or whatever, just to prove that they have graduated. And course descriptions are strongly recommended for three reasons. Number one, they may be required to a college that your child wants to go to, whether that's now or 10 years from now. They may be requested, but not required by the college that your child wants to go to. And they may be appreciated in order to give you the biggest scholarships. And of course, the problem is you don't know where your child is going to apply when your child is in ninth, 10th, 11th grade. You don't know. And so you can't really bet $184,000 that they're not going to be needed when you know that they may be required or requested or appreciated. All right, the last thing we need to do is to make sure that we find balance with delight directed learning, because it's not all there is to life, right? So, delight directed learning in balance means that you do not teach what they already know. If they learn it because they like it, you don't have to teach it until they hate it. Crazy. So, for example, I did not have to teach my son Alex economics. I just didn't, because he learned it for fun. Funny story though, I did forget to teach my other son economics because Alex learned it for fun and I forgot to teach it to Kevin. Anyway, don't bury your child in that one activity until they burn out. The goal, again, is to have self directed, open ended, lifelong love of learning. When you're finding that love of learning, remember that delight directed learning feels like free time, it feels like play. That's what increases the joy of homeschooling in both parent and child. The problem is, it also makes you feel like your kid is totally goofing off, right? And so you do need to find balance. And so, what does balance mean? It means that you are covering the core classes: English, math, science, social studies, foreign language, PE, fine art, and electives. Now, core classes, they vary by family. Some families consider Bible a core class, right? I did. Others will consider auto mechanics or logic part of their core class, home ec part of their core class. So you ask yourself then, well, can I cover a core class with delight directed learning? And the answer is yes. We've talked about music extensively, but let me give you a few other things just to kind of blow your mind, right? What about English? What if they're just learning poetry for fun or creative writing or novel writing? We did a class in novel writing because my kids wanted to write a novel, and that's what we did for English. So if you're learning English for fun, then you do not also add an English class. Don't do it. It's a huge mistake. I know that because I did that myself. They had their delight directed learning. They wanted to write a novel. I said they could write a novel. They wrote the novel. I also made them do English. It was a terrible mistake. I wanted to pull my hair out. We worked so hard that year. Don't do what I did. Okay. Don't double up. So if they're covering the core just for fun, you don't have to also cover it in person. But you do capture that delight directed learning, scooping up the credits. They can either be unique electives or they can be a core subject that they've learned through natural learning. In order to balance school, my biggest tip though is to put your weak areas first. So if they have, I told you that they hate math and science, they just want to do art and music all day, then you would start with the things they don't like, math and science. You do the schoolwork first. You do the weakest subjects, the things they really don't like firstest, and then you do their stronger subjects next. And then you let them learn through delight directed learning the rest of the time. Now, in most families, that means assuming they get up before noon, that you can actually get schoolwork done by noon or 1 o'clock. And then they feel like the rest of the day they were just playing, right? And you're continuing to scoop up credits for the rest of the day. Okay. Now, altogether, let me summarize it this way. Delight directed learning creates excellent high school classes, it personalizes career preparation, and it can earn college credit all while you're working with delight directed learning. So that brings up the obvious question. How do you find the information, strategies, and courage that you need to embrace this lifestyle of learning while still preparing your child to be college or career bound? And the answer is the high school solution. It will help you with every age and stage. It's got all the training and resources that you need to plan for your high school. It's perfect for a veteran homeschooler who wants to do a better job this time around. It's perfect if you're a secluded, isolated homeschooler, military missionary, or in a desert of homeschooling, so that you can have support. It's perfect if you're raising a struggling learner or a gifted learner. And delight directed high school solution is delight directed learning done right. I want you to think about what Sally said for a moment. She said that the high school solution was an enormous amount of information, but put into little tiny bite sized pieces so that you can learn without being overwhelmed or frustrated. The high school solution is the fastest and easiest way to set your child up for success and gain confidence that you need to tackle the challenges of every stage and age in your high school journey. Krista loved it and purchased it and loved it and said the high school solution was completely doable. She learned a lot. She said her favorite part was the overview because she was very new to homeschooling herself. And so she needed some direction to even get started. So you're probably wondering, what is the high school solution? And it is a collection of online classes and workbooks and handouts and ebooks that is intended for parents. I don't teach children. I leave that to you. I teach parents, right? And there is a full length class in the high school solution for almost everything you will be facing as a homeschooler. A full length class on every age, ninth grade, 11th grade, a full length class on every stage. How do I get started? How do I choose curriculum? There are 4 core modules. The first is the overview, which I mentioned Krista loved. 3-hour detailed training. Let's get you up and started quickly. There are a core module on ages, helping you with each age group from middle school up. There's a core module on stages. How do you get started? How do you find your state law? How do you arrange for tests? How do you find a college? And then there's a core module on curriculum. Um, it's not only how do you plan courses, but it has a full length class on fine art and a full length class on social studies and a full length class on how do you teach math, for example. There's also 4 resource packs on monthly training classes, supplemental classes, tools and templates, and a college prep calendar. Now, with your purchase of the high school solution, we have everyday value bonuses, and that includes 10 hours of classes on teenage motivation, handling technology, scriptural encouragement from Finding the Faith, and the continuing education pack, and that is the Silver Training Club. So let me explain that really quickly. The Silver Training Club is continuing education for serious homeschoolers, and it will help you to learn how to homeschool with monthly delivered classes that are timely and perfect for you. They're arranged in quick start, beginning, intermediate, advanced. So no matter how much you've learned, it's never overwhelming and you can learn more. Anyway, with your purchase, you get 30 days free. After 30 days, it will be charged $27 per month, but you can cancel at any time, even the day that you purchased. But I do encourage you to get continuing education because I use continuing education in my business, and I want you to have continuing education in your homeschooling work that you do. Now, we also have some special surprise bonuses. This is my sanity saving pack. Okay. It includes the balance pack. How do you create homeschool balance? The scheduling pack. How scheduling is the key to sanity and beyond academics. It also includes a 4-book bundle in that surprise bonus. The 4 books are the 10 essentials for homeschooling high school for excellence, finding a college you love, and focus on the future. Now, all of this purchase has a money back guarantee. Because this is a digital product and nothing is going to be mailed to you, that means that I can give a 100% 30-day money back guarantee, no questions asked. There is no restocking fee or shipping it back or anything like that. Now, your investment today is only $97 when you use the coupon code on your screen. If you want to write that down on your workbook, it will save you some trouble when you're scrambling around for it. Just write down coupon code HSS97. The regular price for the high school solution is $197. So you want to use the coupon code, right, to get $100 off. So when you add the $100 off, it still gets all of these bonuses with the high school solution. You get the sanity saving pack, you get the 4-book bonuses, plus all the everyday value bonuses that we talked about. Let me show you where to put the coupon code because this will sometimes throw people. Okay, when you get into the order form, you put the coupon code right here, and there's a trick. You have to hit the apply button right here. So you apply the code, and then you'll see that the price changes. Make sure that the price is right before you complete your purchase. But I also wanted to point you something else out down there at the bottom, record keeping. Okay, you can add record keeping help. If you have not started or created your transcript and course descriptions, activity list, reading list, or school profile, you can add the comprehensive record solution to your order for just $67. And that is available only while you're ordering from this one page. It is never available for that price any other time, just when it is in combination with something else. So if you decide that you do need the comprehensive record solution, you just add that to your order here. You click terms and conditions, and then you complete your order. Okay. Once you've completed your purchase, you'll be given an additional opportunity. Now, I did want to say that you can add that record keeping done right again, because we've talked about this before. Your transcript is essential. your course descriptions are recommended. They're recommended because they may be required, they may be requested, and they may be appreciated in order to earn big scholarships. Laura says she doesn't see the coupon code. The coupon code's down at the bottom of the screen, but write this down. It's capital H, capital S, and then the numbers 97. It has to be capitalized, by the way. HSS 97. That's the coupon code. Okay. And if you can't locate the purchase place, all you have to do is type in highschoolsolution.com, and that will get you to where everybody else is right now. Okay. Anyway, you can add more help for homeschool students who are college bound. After you make your purchase, you'll give one opportunity to add finding a college module to your purchase. You can add that for $67. That is also $20 off. This will give you additional information on how to plan senior year when you have a college bound student, how to succeed at the PSAT, SAT, CLT, how to find a college, how to choose a college, and how to handle special situations like applying to an Ivy League school or applying to a military academy or applying with an athlete, an NCAA athlete, or a struggling learner, or you want to go to a Christian college. It will help you with all of the specific things that college bound parents particularly stress out about. Okay. The question and answer time is now. Oh, goody, goody. It was 8 minutes from start to finish. I'm so happy. All right, so I have finished telling you about the high school solution. So I would love to answer any questions that you have. So now is your time to just chime in with questions, and I will be happy to answer those for you. I'm super excited to talk about people that have different interests that they're passionate about. I remember one time some student was doing art and studying birds to such an extent he was published in books. It wasn't National Geographic, but it was one of those like big name books that you would recognize that does bird books. And they were publicizing not just his words, but his artwork. And this is what the child does for fun, you know? So it became his English, it became his art, and it became his occupational education, all in one time. So it was super exciting, and really, really helpful for him. Alrighty, so I did not see your question, Marissa. So I'm so thankful that you typed it in again. And by the way, if you have sent me a question, it is gone. I have lost it. Please type it in again. But Marissa's question is, if Delight Directed Learning credit includes curriculum that is labeled for younger students, can you include it? Yes, you absolutely can. I would not say the grade level of the whatever you were using. I would just name it without the grade level. I actually did that myself with our third year of French. I did not have a good quality French curriculum for the third year, and my kids wanted to take a third year of French. I know who are these people. And so I used an elementary age uh, audio program that I got at the library so that they could hear French spoken well and say it back spoken well, but it was for elementary kids. And then we checked out from the library French readers, first grade readers, Hop on Pop or whatever in French. And so that was the curriculum that I put down on there. And yes, it was for younger grades, and yes, I did include it, but I didn't say this is the elementary age curriculum, right? Okay, Janelle says, I have a son who's considering college basketball. Do you have any experience creating transcripts for NCAA approval? Yes, I have actually quite a bit of experience with that. In the total transcript solution, we do have two NCAA compliant transcript templates. The NCAA does require what they call core course worksheets, What that actually means is it is absolutely required that you have course descriptions for what they consider the core. Okay. They don't require course descriptions in Delight Directed Learning, but they do require it in the core. And so, yeah, I have experience helping people with that. I will say that if you are mixing it up with the NCAA, they understand public school and private school. They understand homeschooling. What the NCAA does not understand is this blend of homeschooling and public schooling, and it just blows their ever loving mind. So it's a little easier to say your classes were taught by a homeschool parent, and these are the resources that you used, rather than to say, well, here is this class we took at that place and this class we took at that place, and go check with them. That's a little more difficult to convince them that you did a good job. They're very homeschool friendly, but the NCAA is always work for every person who is involved in the NCAA. So it's not like they're picking on homeschooling. Homeschooling is kind of the easy part of the NCAA, but it does take a lot of work. You definitely want to be prepared with having your transcript ready to go all the time, having course descriptions ready to go all the time. Elizabeth's question: how important would you say it is to write a course description? In my experience, it is extremely important. I have seen colleges, again, require them in order to be admitted. I've seen them request course descriptions in order to be admitted or to get scholarships. And I've seen colleges that have appreciated course descriptions in a way that has changed their trajectory. So, for example, in my own life, I've confessed I have nerdy children. I've even confessed they had excellent test scores. But at one university, my children were denied admission. We had not met their requirement in foreign language. We did not have an AP test in foreign language. It's true. And so I wrote to them, and it's like, I'm not going to have them take an AP in French now. They haven't taken French for a year. They wouldn't even do well. I didn't say it sassy like that. I wrote them back and I said, I'm so sorry. I don't have an AP course for that. But if you could read our course descriptions for foreign language, you will see that they had Latin 1, Latin 2, Latin 3, French 1, French 2, French 3, and those course descriptions are found on these pages in my comprehensive records. Now, the comprehensive record looked a little bit like this. It was about 40 some pages. It had one page course description for everything that they did. And so I could easily say, turn to whatever, page 32, and you will start to read those course descriptions. What happened after that was that they completely changed their mind. They gave both of my children admission. They gave them both scholarships. They said that these were the biggest possible scholarships that were available. And that was based on course descriptions alone. If scholarships are important to you, course descriptions are more important to you. If the NCAA is a possibility, course descriptions are more important to you. If you're wanting to go to a specific school or an Ivy League or a military academy, course descriptions are even more important to you. If your child has poor test scores, course descriptions are even more important to you. But I have seen course descriptions required even in situations where people didn't think they would ever be required. One mom, her daughter got an AA degree from dual enrollment and was applying to college already having had an AA degree, and the college still required course descriptions. So I just don't want you to be disappointed. Okay. Julie said, could you please show the slide that has the course description advice? Like, this is a self-directed course. I believe I can do that. I believe I can do that. It wasn't too far. Not there. Not there. It's very close. I feel like I'm getting closer. Nope. 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 Oh, man. There it is. Found it. You're welcome, Julie. Yeah, I was trying to hurry at that point. I was falling behind. Sorry about that. Okay, Becca says, "Hi, Becca. Good to see you. We go. Oh, I've got to say something first. I wanted to say thank you to Jenny K. Thank you, Jenny, for your purchase. I hope that you love it and that it is a perfect fit for you. Okay. Also, somebody else just called me on the phone and wanted to talk to me about this. And unfortunately, I cannot talk to you about this right now because I am talking to everybody else. However, if you go onto my website, my staff is available through the website as well, and you'll be able to chat with Robin and Jen and Alexandria, and you'll be able to chat with them, and they can answer your questions by chat through the website. Anyway, back to Becca. Hi, Becca. We go through a charter homeschool that gives us funds each semester. But I feel like we've met so many expectations, and it keeps my daughter from enjoying that love of learning with the constant testing that they do. What is your thoughts on charter homeschool blend options? Becca, my opinion is exactly your opinion. When you mix it up with the schools, suddenly you have to meet their expectations. And their expectations are geared around teaching 30 children at once. And at a high school, electives are limited based on what does the teacher want to teach that year. Homeschooling turns that upside down. It's what does the child want to learn? Let me find some free resources for that. So it's a completely different way of looking at education. When you do mix it up with the schools, though, they really can just beat the love of learning out of a child, and it can be extremely frustrating. Case in point, for my son, when we did dual enrollment and he was so excited to take his first college level course on economics, and he was bored out of his mind. It was so boring, and yet he still had to get an A, had to take all those tests, and it was just like the experience that you had. One of the things to keep in mind when you're doing this blending of charter school, homeschool, is that you are receiving money from them, whether that's for curriculum or actual cash. And in exchange, they own something of you. So it's an exchange, but it can be an uneven exchange. So if it becomes too difficult for you to manage, I just want to encourage you that much of the curriculum that we buy is free. You know, you can go to the library and get a lot of what you need to homeschool in order to be free. You do not have to go through a charter or homeschool, even if you want to go to an Ivy League school, even if you're NCAA, perhaps especially if you're NCAA. Even if you want to go to college, you do not have to go through a charter homeschool blend. You can homeschool independently. Um, Actually, there's been some research that's shown that homeschool students perform better when they're homeschooled, regardless of whether they have charter homeschool blends or not. Sometimes the charter schools will give you, they're trying to like peer pressure you adult to adult. And their advertisements will be things like, we have real teachers. Well, yeah, well, guess what? You're a real teacher too, Becca, right? Or we have the best courses. Well, yeah, but you can create the best courses, right? And so I don't want you to feel peer pressured by them at all. Okay, so Marissa's question is, hello again. Is it okay to add many partial credits for delight directed learning? So, for example, my daughter wants to learn meteorology at the moment, but maybe it's only going to be a quarter credit or a half a credit. So often you're trying to blend those things in together, which is again why you're doing that sticky note strategy. Remember, we talked about that. So you're going to take one of your sticky notes and you're going to call it meteorology. Okay. You're going to estimate how many times she spends on it. You're going to say, well, is it meteorology? Is it elective? Is it science? Is it space science? I don't know what kind of science it is, right? And you're just going to hold on to that sticky note. Now, maybe this year you'll have lots of science sticky notes, and you're going to call it general science. Or maybe next year, this sticky note and this sticky note are both going to be meteorology, and then you will have a half a credit, but you don't have to decide today. Okay. Lacey's question. Hi, Lacey. Good to see you. My son delights in video games. Batman, writing, a little filmmaking. The first two really annoy me. Preach sister. And the general overall bad attitude with school totally has me burned out. Right. Okay. So let's talk about this. Whenever the child is involved in video games, it's very complicated and difficult to pull that apart. What part is goofing off with video games where his brain is not engaged, and what part is English because he's writing stories, and art because he's doing filmmaking, claymation, stop action, right? I've seen kids do that. What part of it is you're doing software, you're writing code, and again, what part is their brain is turned off and they're not doing what they need to do. um, one of the classes that is included in the high school solution is a 6-hour class on setting technology boundaries. I think that's going to be really extremely important for you as you try to pull that apart. The smarter a child is, the more they will try to talk to you into considering it school. But I do not encourage you to include video gaming as a school subject at all. Only take what they do with what they've learned in video games as delight directed learning. Okay, so if they're writing a screenplay and they're doing stop action photography using their little Lego pieces of Batman, right, or whatever, then those would be things that are on the transcript, but the actual time spent gaming would not. Okay. Okay, let's see. Laura has a question. Hi, Laura. I'm so glad to talk to you today. How do these transcripts work for universities at top tier schools? She would like to attend one that allows for double majors in fine arts with another college major at the university. So it is a 225 to 50 university. I don't know what that exactly means, but so let's talk about top tier colleges. One of the things that you're going to want to learn is, okay, how do I get into a top tier college? A lot of that boils down to having a really fantastic transcript. I have 10 templates plus the NCAA templates in the total transcript solution in the comprehensive record solution. So that is handled. The top tier schools really are going to be relying on course descriptions. How do they check the rigor of your homeschool? There's only one way, and that's through course descriptions. Top tier schools, though, are looking for a lot of different pieces, all of which delight directed learning will help you with. They're looking for leadership. When you love something, you can lead others in it. They're looking for activities. When you love something, you will have activities in that something. They're looking for letters of recommendation. When you love something, you're interacting with people who can write those letters of recommendation. So all of this information is even more helpful when you're geared to a top 10 school. Now, earlier I was asked if I had a lot of experience with NCAA requirements. Yes, absolutely. I also have a lot of experience with top tier schools, and every year I have multiple families that are applying to Ivy League, the military academies, other top tier schools, MIT, whatever, and I can definitely help you with that. Let me just take a moment to pause, though, and say thank you, Jessica C. Thank you, Jessica, for your purchase today. Also, I wanted to let you know that because it's back to school time, we do have all of our products on sale today. So if you feel like, well, I don't need the high school solution because I have an 11th grader or whatever, All of our products are on sale today. So if you do have an 11th grader who is college bound, maybe the college lunch solution is a better fit. Maybe you're already in the senior year and what you really need now, you finally realize, oh my gosh, I need course descriptions. I forgot course descriptions. Then maybe what you'd really need right now is the comprehensive record solution. On the very, very back page of the workbook, page 7, you will see a list of my online resources that can help you. Okay. All righty. Lois said, can you put a price list and coupon codes in a chat message? I have missed most of this. Yes, Lois. My husband will give you that information. Matt, can you send that in to Lois, please? Yep, he says, yep. Excellent. Okay. Let's see. Becca said, thank you about the charter, public, private. It's hard to let go of the funds that pay for piano lessons and art lessons. Boy, I hear that an awful lot. It always seems to boil down to piano and art. I know. But it is difficult to give up that control to the government. So, okay. Angela. Hi, Angela. It's good to see you. My son is interested in architecture and he spends a lot of time on cities and skylines, which is a game that's like city building and management. Is that something I could include as delight directed learning? I would probably say no. However, if your child is also doing one of those computer programs that assists architects in creating these 3D graphics, then your cities and skylines might be a supplement. Like, I don't know, going to a museum might be a supplement for art history. So if you are teaching an architectural class, then you might include that. But if he is becoming more passionate about architecture, I would really search out a mentor for him so that he can find somebody that he can speak to, find out, well, what kind of training is involved. It can be a surprise to people that things like architecture require, I don't know, physics or calculus. It can be a surprise. So you want to find a mentor so that he can get the information that he needs to guide his career. Well, I have had a ton of fun with you guys. It's been fantastic. And I am pleased to report that it is in the 70s today in Seattle. So that is my perfect weather here in Seattle. We had our 95s earlier last week, and I thought I was going to melt because ain't nobody here in Seattle that's got air conditioning. CLS is the college launch solution, Lois. If you are a parent of a college bound and you're committed to homeschooling high school, it is an excellent resource for you. It gears you up to how do you plan everything as if you're a college bound high school? How do you plan the application process? How do you get big scholarships? So it's really specific to families that are college bound, committed to homeschooling high school, college launch solution. Okay. Final question. This is from Marissa, and then I need to go. The final question is CLEP looked down on by colleges? That's the CLEP, is a test offered by the College Board. It's like they do the AP and then they do the CLEP. Roughly the same number of colleges accept CLEP classes as accept AP classes. I would say they are roughly equivalent, but occasionally you'll run into colleges that have a preference one over the other. While they may have a preference, usually colleges just want you to take the hardest classes you could take in your high school, and they know that not all homeschoolers can access AP, and so they may have CLEP as used as an alternative. At our college where we applied, I knew that they would accept up to 1 full year of college by CLEP. We had far more CLEP test scores than that, but I wanted to use them as a subject test for each of the things that my children did well. And I use them sort of like an AP. It's not just like, look at how much my child learned, but look at how much my child learned, right? And that's how I used CLEP, even though the college choices that we had only offered us college credit for 1 year of those. So it's on a college by college basis. And that's part of what you're going to be asking when you go on your college visits and you're finding a college. But the short answer is no, not looked down on. All right. Well, thank you guys. Oh, I've gotten way, way, way off the beaten track. So let me just say thank you for coming today. Oh yeah, and I need to extend our sale. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yep. It's still working. Okay. I needed to extend our sale to midnight tonight so that you can there we go. There we go. Extend the sale through midnight tonight so that you can have time to speak with your hubby. Okay. So if you need to do that, you can handle that now. So thank you so much for coming today. It's been wonderful to talk with you. I'm just so glad that we were able to spend this time together, and I really have enjoyed being with you today. So take care. Bye bye.